The horror started on the eve of Samhain in a foggy vale in Northern Ireland at the dawn of the Celtic race. And once started, it trod the earth forevermore, wreaking its savagery suddenly, swiftly, and with incredible ferocity.
Today we're discussing the novelization of the movie Halloween. This came out in 1979, a year after the actual movie did, and I wonder how many hardcore Halloween fans know about this. If you are a hardcore Halloween fan and you didn't know, leave it in the comments below because I'm curious. We were not hardcore Halloween fans, we're Freddy Krueger people, I would say, right? Like,
yes.
Of the three, Jason, Freddy, and Michael. But I always thought I should be more into Halloween because we are obsessed with Halloween itself, just not particularly the Michael Myers series, until we got into the Rob Zombie one. Was kind of interesting. The reason, if some of you didn't like the remake, is because I liked the fact it gave him more of a backstory. It talked more about Michael, his activities in the psych ward, his fascination with masks, etc. But when we discovered the novelization of the original Halloween movie, I got a lot more into the movies. And the reason is because the books give you there is more than one book. There's all of the movies were novelized eventually. The books give you more of an in-depth view of Michael and why he did it and the history behind it that was long before Michael's birth, which we will explain. The book was taken from the screenplay, so I'm wondering why the facts put in the book were left out of the screenplay. But I just have to give a quick nod to 1979. If you guys are new, do subscribe. Check out our spooky playlists. I'm Morticia. This is my darling husband Gomez, our roommate Slappy, and our guest star for the day, Gregory, the vampire bat, the big bad vampire bat, I think they call him in his advertisements. This toy came out in 1979, just like the novelization of the movie Halloween, so I had to include him. I'm like, we gotta let Gregory hang out. It's the same year. They were born the same year, man. Like, you think vampire bat toys were cooler back in the day? Because, I mean, I got some cool ones from, like, Halloween City, but this guy's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's only $600 on eBay if you want him. And no, I'm not bragging like the people that spend a lot and make videos bragging about it. We found him for $100 on Etsy, and I nearly flipped a gasket. I was like, Gomez, we have to get this now. I don't usually drop $100 on a toy bat, but when it's normally $600, we have to get this now. So, that was exciting. Alright, Gregory has said hello, and wished you all his Halloween spookiness. You know, vampire toy bats have got, they're always a huge part of Halloween, at least for me. As a kid, I had to have a toy bat every year. So, didn't have this guy, because, you know, but now I have him, so that's cool. I don't know that the toy bats I had as a kid were as cool. Maybe they didn't make toys as cool. But this is pretty cool. Okay, back to the 1979 topic at hand, which is the novelization of the movie Halloween. For some reason, the author, who was already pretty established, chose to use a pen name, which I don't know why.
Yeah, that was interesting. Curtis Richards, that was the pseudonym, and the real name was Dennis Etchinson. And he is known from other novels, both horror and sci-fi. He served on the board of writers. Even Stephen King was aware of him and called him a hell of a fiction writer. And he is definitely worth it. I think he develops the story really well.
Yeah, definitely better than the Hocus Pocus author that had to be a pseudonym too, because we don't know who it is. And we already did that book review recently. If you want to check it out, speaking of movies and book adaptations, it was different. But let's move back to something good. He did so well because when I read it, I felt like I was watching the movie, except like I got more out of it than I did when I watched the movie. Because I know I'm probably going to annoy some hardcore Halloween fans out there, but remember, we all have opinions and perceptions, and it's okay not to think the same. When I watched the movie, I think Gomez liked it more than I did, right? Like,
yeah, I liked certain elements of it.
I just felt like it was lacking. Like, I need to know more. Like, to me, kid is evil and just kills his sister out of the blue and nobody noticed. You know, he's like 6, he grows up, they don't mention him having issues or anything. And then suddenly, he just goes ape on Halloween. It just didn't feel like a full plot to me as a writer myself, or just with someone who loves horror and imagination. You know, it wasn't, it had too many holes and was leaving me going, really? Like, I'm not scared and this is a problem for me because it's just weird. Like, why? I need to know. And I think you said, Gomez, maybe the horror is not knowing why.
Yeah.
But it just didn't speak to me. Like, I don't know. I wanted to know why. But the novelization explains why. And it does have the grandmother and the mom kind of noticing some stuff in Michael.
Yeah.
Before he goes ape on Halloween. So I liked that a lot. And in the beginning of this video, you heard Gomez read a little excerpt from the beginning of the book, hinting that it goes back to, obviously, as he said, or read in the beginning, Druidic times. So Michael is how he is because of an old Druidic curse, which you obviously are thinking, yeah, okay, I saw this in, what was it, Halloween 3 or 4 or whatever, like, different aspects of that.
Yeah, the Curse of the Thorn develops it further, but it takes several sequels before you start.
Yeah, and to me, I wouldn't have made it past the first movie, because I was just like, really? Like, I don't know, in the first one. And I watched it like a few years ago, and I was just like, I don't know the hype, like, I don't know, I wouldn't have made it into the other movies. But, so I like the fact that this novelization starts with the Druidic stuff. And you understand why this is happening. And I like that a lot, because I get that you should watch everything and let the plot unfold and build up, but to me the first one just wasn't enough for me on its own. And I know there are hardcore fans who would disagree, but again, just I'm a writer and I ask too many questions, and I get being tantalized and stuff, like, and drawn in, but I felt more lacking than interested and drawn in, like. But I'm just saying that because I want it known how awesome the book is. It doesn't change anything. You get to kind of read the movie in detail and get into the characters' heads when it's a book, and I like that a lot. And it doesn't change anything. It just adds some things that explain more. It gives more depth, I think, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I think so. It's like, in a sense, it achieves everything that the movie set out to achieve, more than the movie itself does, interestingly. It even shows that Michael, like, was not himself specifically special the way horror fans like to concentrate on him. He was just the representative of that implacable force, just like John Carpenter intended him to be. Because he is based, by the way, on real life, of course, mental asylum patient and stuff like that. So, and that's what struck the imagination, that there's some implacable evil force, a force that John Carpenter was inspired by from Halloween, and that's how the book actually connects it all, the plot holes, how it all, like, piece by piece, linear connections, and you can follow it and enjoy it if you're a horror fan.
Yeah, it, like, even if you just like the blood and gore, and that's cool, but if you really want to get more out of it too, read the book, and it gives you a flavor of the original Halloween. Like, now I get why it's called Halloween. I mean, obviously it was called Halloween because he did all this on Halloween, but this goes back to the original roots of Halloween when it was Samhain, and the Celts and Druids had their night of celebrating the veil being thinner and the dead being able to cross over and back and whatnot, and it was just, it made it more special for me. And now when I watch the movie, I enjoy it a lot more, and instead of going like, really, what, why, I'm going like, oh yeah, because now I know that behind the scenes stuff, like, I'm in the know, so it means more, and I really love the depth that the book adds. And you guys should totally read it if you're Halloween fans. Like, even if you're not into books, it just feels so good and spooky, like, you know, just, it feels Halloween, it feels like Halloween. And it's so cool to get into their heads, and you get to go back to the 70s and the 60s and whatever. Because I think it starts in 63 when Michael's a kid. Yeah. And then it goes back to 70s, and it's kind of cool to see what it was like then. The flavor is carried across, I think, really well then.
Yeah, and the author even adds an interesting ironic touch. He names one of the characters who is the inspiration for Michael in the book. And the meaning of that name, I'm not going to give you the name to avoid spoilers, but the meaning of it is free like a bird. It's a very good irony when you think about it after you read the book.
Especially because it was in the second part. It's kind of an obvious connection without going too hard into.
Yes.
The book also goes into the beginning, it goes into why Michael is made to kill. And it also goes into kind of like some of his time in the psych ward and how he kind of ends up running the psych ward because they're scared to cross him. And I will say, without spoilers too much, he does things whenever people cross him in the psych ward that almost seem like magic to me. Because, like, sometimes, like, somebody would fall, but when the lights came on, if they were out for a second, he'd be across the room, like, not even near them. Like, yes, he could run, but there was people in the way. Like, it seemed like how is he doing that, like without some kind of special power?
Yes.
And I'm sure if you guys are watching this, you're probably big Halloween fans and you've seen all the movies, so you're aware of the druid curse that comes up in later movies. But the thing is, my problem, and I had a problem with this in the first book as well, the druids that cursed the original guy that Michael has to have reenacting, as it were, they cursed him for killing innocent people, that he had to keep reliving this and killing innocent people. And that's not cool, because like, I get cursing him, but they're cursing the people that he killed to be killed. So it's like, you want to avenge these people, yet you're cursing them to keep getting killed while you curse the other person.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting phenomena for me of showing the backlash of negative energy in a way, like what curses can do. And if you curse someone and you're sending out that, what are you getting back?
Yeah, that was very interesting.
I used to feel like, as a personal comment about me, that live and let live, or, you know, if somebody screws you over, just live and be happy, and that's the best, you know, revenge or whatever. I just thought that sounded so like cupcake candy, you know. Oh no, I want to mess them up. I want to make them pay. That's what I want. I want them to know that I did it, and I want them to be sorry. And, you know, like we're talking high school me or whatever. And then I learned that it's not candy cupcake. It's really true, because if they're that kind of person, the universe will give it back to them. They really will, and you don't need to be involved. And you just being happy is you getting over it and being happy. So it was just interesting how that reflected, because I didn't get how these druids and everything didn't understand when you're cursing for avenging him to keep doing the same thing. He's going to still keep killing innocent people. Like, hello? You're cursing him to suffer, but these people are dying again and again and again.
Well, those people are not other people.
Well, they're the ones you wanted to avenge, so they kind of are. And that's like, how did they miss that? Like, that's a pretty big, and again, I know I can be analytical, and that's why I didn't enjoy the first Halloween as much, but I was just like, but it's kind of cool, because it maybe shows when people are in a state of mind to want to curse someone, that, you know, that they're not thinking it out like that. Like,
yeah.
That could be the point, and that was interesting to me. I didn't know about Michael being based on a psych ward character. I missed that.
Oh, yeah, John Carpenter saw a real-life boy that was like 11 or something like that, and his stare was so maniacal and, well, not maniacal, rather evil and blank, and it was that evil and blank that impressed him so.
Oh, like yours?
Yeah.
Ah, I understand.
Not quite as refined, because he was still just a child.
Yes. So did they know what the kid was in for?
He was one of the heavy cases, but it didn't specify where I read exactly the diagnosis, but...
That's just interesting, and I thought if I don't know, other people might not, so I'll just ask, like...
Yeah.
Kind of cool. We can all go wiki it together, see if we find anything. Wiki, I love it.
Yes.
So yeah, I just thought, while we're all in the spooky season, loving horror and Halloween, and you know, it's becoming autumn now, that if you're thinking about wanting something good to read, the Halloween book is really cool. And if you like the movies, or even if you were indifferent like I was, it will give you whole new depth right away to the first one, and it will be a lot better. I wish they had inserted that druid thing in the beginning of the first movie, like...
Yeah, and there was the other element of the book that in a sense showed Judith to me from a different perspective, that she wasn't all nice and pleasant, that she had this kind of like a tricky streak to her herself.
She was a teenager.
Yeah.
She was not a goody-goody teenager.
But like the movie just shows the scene of the killing, where the book, I guess, brings that character that shows that things are not exactly as they seem necessarily.
Yeah, and she wasn't like unlikable.
No.
She was just a teenager who would get up to stuff like, you know, teenagers will do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you understand why, a lot. And I don't think it's understanding why in a way that ruins it where you wouldn't watch the next movies. That's why I'm saying I understand build-up, but I think it would have been really good to add that bit of Halloween flavor of the ancient Halloween and whatnot even to the first movie, because we still want to know more, and I would still watch the other movies if that had been put in there. So it wasn't like we needed that suspense left out, you know, like.
Yeah.
So we just thought we would make you guys aware if you didn't know about the novelization, because it went out of print in the late 80s, but it's still like able to be bought now, so that's cool. And I was just looking for horror audiobooks on YouTube and found it. It's actually up on YouTube if you guys like audiobooks. If you put it in, you should find it. So it's pretty cool. And obviously you can buy it and whatnot. So If you want to listen to it free, though, it's on YouTube. I love it. So we hope you enjoyed this, and leave us a comment if you did actually know about it and what you think about it. And until next time,
Stay spooky, my friends.